It's that special time of year again where people argue whether or not movies like Die Hard or Lethal Weapon are Christmas movies, or if Silent Night, Bloody Night, or the never-ending Krampus movies are the better holiday films. I like some of the Christmas music and decorations, but I don't celebrate it, or any holiday really. As a kid, I enjoyed the A Christmas Carol novel and all the adaptations made from it. I thought it was just a cool ghost story. But with its morals, ethics, and lessons, is it more than that? I don't think so. Although considering how this story got its start, Dickens gave it a good shot. In the 1800s, as a boy, Charles Dickens was forced to work in a factory after his father's imprisonment for not being able to pay his debts. Dickens intended to write a political pamphlet about poverty, but instead wrote a different kind of political story with a main character, Ebenezer Scrooge, portrayed as a bitter, miserly man. And then the first ghost visits Scrooge, named Jacob Marley, his former business partner, who now wanders the earth wearing heavy chains and money boxes. But those chains aren't just symbols of his greed and selfishness, but also the weight of his burden and regrets. Then Scrooge is visited by the ghost of Christmas past. In the book, this ghost is described as neither male nor female and is referred to as it, and that the ghost appears to be neither old nor young, and as looking like a fairy or elf, along with being like a child, yet not so like a child as like an old man. This may represent the changing nature of our memories and how it serves as a bridge between different stages of our life. But this ghost may also represent enlightenment. Scrooge has to examine the memories of his past to understand how he became who he is. He's reminded of his lonely childhood at a boarding school and of his fiancée ending their relationship when she realizes that he will never love her as much as he loves money. Then arrives the ghost of Christmas present. This ghost carries a torch that can sprinkle blessings on people, presented as the Christmas spirit or Father Christmas, who some think to be synonymous with Santa Claus. When Scrooge notices something moving under the ghost's robe, the ghost reveals two emaciated children beneath it. The boy is called Ignorance and the girl is Want. The ghost warns Scrooge to beware them both, but most of all beware the boy, for on his brow is written doom. Ignorance symbolizes all the things that we ignore and remain oblivious to. Want represents our never-ending desire for more. And doom is what ultimately awaits us all if we ignore ignorance and give in to want. And then comes the ghost of Christmas yet to come. It makes its appearance on the last stroke of 12, the witching hour, the time where witches, demons, and ghosts are thought to appear and be at their most powerful. It is described as an ominous and silent figure, draped and hooded, coming like a mist along the ground towards him. And Scrooge feared the silent shape so much that his legs trembled beneath him. The ghost is, of course, the personification of death, and death has been one of the most popular figures throughout literature and mythologies around the world. Some figures like a banshee who, in Irish myth, heralds the death of a family member, usually by screaming, wailing, and shrieking. Or in Celtic myth, Anku, who drives a deathly wagon that has a creaking axle piled high with corpses, and a stop at a cabin door means death for those inside. The Grim Reaper, a robed skeleton, comes to collect the person's soul, wielding a scythe to mow down the living. Or in the Bible, the often referenced four horsemen of the apocalypse, where death came on a pale horse and hell followed with him. This ghost brings Scrooge to a dilapidated grave and reveals scenes involving the death of a hated man, whose funeral is only attended by local businessmen on the condition that lunch is provided to them, while others steal this dead man's property. The ghost eventually makes Scrooge look at his name on the tombstone, and he breaks down. The ghost shows him that his future fate is not yet set or carved on his gravestone. After all of this, Scrooge promises to honor Christmas in his heart, and he vows to live in the past, the present, and the future. Which I think is kind of BS. The ghosts of past and present try to guilt and shame Scrooge into behaving a different way, but it was Jacob Marley and the ghost of what's to come that frightened him into changing. Like being sent to some version of hell if you don't do what people who say they represent God tells you to do. Or a government threatens you with jail for bad behavior, or banks threaten with debanking, online websites with threats of deplatforming and demonetizing content, or your job firing you for making a tweet that makes the mob angry. None of this is about being a good person. It has nothing to do with morals, ethics, or altruism. Scrooge bought Tiny Tim a big turkey because he hopes to avoid Marley's chains. I still think A Christmas Carol is a cool little ghost story, but if it does teach anything, it's that you should fall in line and do what those with the power over you tell you what to do, because if you don't, they will ensure that you suffer eternally. Merry Christmas!